We're at the halfway point of the inaugural Alliance of American football season. Have the games actually held up to all the hype? I think so. Now let's break them down. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mike Floyd with the Turtle Show, bringing you a recap of Week 5 of the Alliance of American football. If you like this video, hit like, share, subscribe, and let's get to the recap. Okay, so the first game to kick off for Week 5 was the Orlando Apollos playing the Birmingham Iron. They were playing down in Birmingham. This game was being touted as going to be the most explosive, the number one offense versus the number one defense. Everybody was wanting to see if that Orlando Apollos offense can just get out on that unwielding iron shield of a defense that the Birmingham Iron has. Well, they did. They ended up winning 31-14. It is pretty much the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, saw the weaknesses in the Iron defense and just exploited them left and right. Garrett Gilbert went for 25 of 35, 286 yards, 2 TDs, and 2-point conversions. And Luis Perez, he had another pretty dismal day. I was talking last week when he just looked out of sorts. I mean, I know that his old line is pretty much decimated right now. He's missing the starting center, I think his left guard and his right tackle, or maybe vice versa. But it just seemed like every time in the pocket, he was just rushed. He was getting rushed, and he wasn't able to settle down and get passes, deep passes that they absolutely needed. And they relied too much on the run game. And if you rely on the run game with Trent Richardson, you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, if you're near the goal line, he got you. He'll score you a touchdown. But anything outside the 20, you need actual passes downfield, and they just weren't generating that. Luis Perez actually went 3 of 7 for 4 yards. The reason why he went so dismal is because he threw an interception that actually turned into a touchdown for the Orlando Apollos. It was a pick 6. He was benched right after that, and Keith Price came in. Keith Price used to play in the CFL. He played a little bit in the NFL. He bounced around a little bit. He went 18 of 29, 234 yards. He had 1 TD. His passing TD actually went to Brandon Ross, the other running back, who had 3 carries for 8 yards. But that reception, I mean, it was a pretty catch, and it was the first passing touchdown in Iron history. It's been 5 weeks, and they hadn't had a passing touchdown yet. All their touchdowns were scored by Trent Richardson, and that's not a good formula to have. I mean, especially when you're going up against the teams, all these other teams that got these high-flying offenses, you got to be able to keep up. The Orlando Apollos, they pretty much built a beating on the Iron. That as soon as they started scoring points, it was just a wrap for these guys. All the receivers for the Apollos pretty much all had catches. Charles Johnson had 6 receptions, 10 targets. He had 83 yards. Dearness Johnson had, 6 targets for 73 yards, 2 TDs thrown by Garrett Gilbert. I mean, it was just, right now, the Apollos are I hate to say it, but they're the best team in the Alliance right now. I mean, they're super polished. Their defense is decent. Their offense is just clicking so fast that, I mean, they're scoring so quick that it's causing these other teams to not be able to keep up. I mean, the defense for the Iron just got completely worn out. I mean, they were on the field so much because the offense for the Iron just couldn't generate anything. It just wore them out. I mean, they ended up breaking. So I think with the Price, well, here's the thing. So I don't know if Tim Lewis is going to put Price as the starting quarterback from now on, or if they're going to give Luis Perez a second chance. I mean, it's been 5 weeks. Perez really hasn't generated much offense. I mean, he had some decent throws before, but until that O-line's back healthy, I don't see him being that pocket passer that they need. He's going to be flushed out of that pocket, especially when they're coming up against all these Russian defenses. I mean, I don't know what he can do. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Apollos, on the other hand, I wouldn't change a single thing. I wouldn't change a single. They got a run game. They got a pass game. Their defense is showing up when it needs to. So the next game is playing against Arizona, and it's just, they got Arizona, then they got Atlanta next, and Memphis. I mean, maybe the Memphis game, that might be a defensive battle for them a little bit, but I don't see anybody be able to stop them. I don't. And for the Iron, I don't know, man. It's next week is going to be a big test for them. If they can't get anything generating next week with the change of quarterback, I think they should just go ahead and wrap it up. I mean, being a little 2-week wonder was pretty cool and all, a 3-week wonder, but it's a wrap for them. And also, this isn't me just stating like, hey, just, go ahead and toss the Iron out with the bathwater and everything. I'm not saying that they're a bad team. I'm saying that I love that defense. I love their head coach. It's just that offense is not going to get you where y'all need to be at. I mean, if you're going to try to compete with those Western teams, which I'm about to talk about in a second, you got to be able to generate some offense. And with them being in the Eastern Division with the Apollos, I mean, they're not going to come out. Now, speaking about the Western Division, on Saturday, you had the Salt Lake Stallions playing the San Diego Fleet. The San Diego Fleet ended up winning this game 27-25. And this game pretty much came down to like the fourth quarter. Like the fourth quarter felt like an NFL game. It was just bang, bang, boom. There was 2 interceptions back to back. I think Berkovicic threw an interception. And then what's-his-face, Woodrum's threw an interception as well. Josh Woodrum, he had a hell of a game. He went 31 for 48, 380 yards, but he did throw 3 interceptions, all to the same guy. He threw for 1 TD, Mark Berkovici, he went for 22 of 43, so about 50% of his passes were completed. Went for 304 yards, though, 1 TD and 1 interception. Receiving wise, I mean, Cameron Kelly, I mean, I understand he's playing cornerback, but he was playing, you know, receiver for a little while because the head coach for the Fleet wanted him to play receiver because you saw how he had the ball hockey skills. Then they threw him back to corner, which was a good idea because he had 3 interceptions in one game. I mean, you've seen guys like Peterman throw like 4 to 5 interceptions in like a quarter, I think it was. It's something crazy like that for the Bills. But it wasn't the same guy. It was like spread around the whole team. This dude had all the interceptions. That was just pretty, like all his interceptions were just like diving interceptions. The last one he had was ran in for a touchdown. But the dude, like, I don't know which one was just leading with his eyes or what, but he was reading every single play. Austin Allen came in, he threw for like a series. I think, you know, I don't think Woodrum was injured, but I think he was having some troubles with the communicator in his helmet. I mean, once that goes, I think Berkovici had the same problem too. So it might just be something in that stadium with the Bluetooth or whatever they use in that helmet. So they probably got to get that fixed out. Bishop Sankey actually made an appearance this game. He was off of IR. He went for 5 carries, 11 yards. They didn't really use him as a bell cow because the Salt Lake Stallions defense, that front 7 just shut down the run game. Terrell Watson couldn't really get anything going. For the Stallions, they're rushing Joel Bonio. I finally figured out how to say that dude's name. 11 carries, 36 yards. He got 2 TDs. I honestly think that Salt Lake is better than what their record is showing. I mean, they've lost to really good teams right now, but I honestly think that the Western Division for the Lions of American Football is probably the better division. I mean, all 4 of those teams are each really, really good. I mean, when you look at the Eastern Conference, you got Orlando, who's like right at the top, and then you got the Iron, and then Atlanta and Memphis right down at the bottom, banging out for the lowest, the worst teams. But on the Western Division, each one of those teams, week by week, I mean, they've been showing up. I know the Commanders kind of fell off a little bit. They came back and beat Birmingham last week, but with the Salt Lake Stallions, every game they played and lost in, they've been in these games. So they're not getting blown out. They lost by what, 2 points in this game? So 27-25. It was literally on the field goal. They literally marched down the field, scored, and then they just gave up a field goal at the very end. I mean, it's just little tiny penalties that's been killing them, but this team is a lot better than what the record is showing them. So I honestly think that they got 5 more games left. Say they win out these next 5 games, I mean, they could do some major damage. Their next game is Memphis is coming into town, and I honestly think that they can win. They got Memphis, they got San Antonio, then they got to play the Fleet again, Atlanta, and then San Antonio again. So San Antonio's showing a weakness. They get beat deep. Memphis, I mean, they could just rattle the quarterback. They could beat Memphis. They got tape on San Diego now. You got Atlanta, who their offense is clicking now, and then you got San Antonio again. So I honestly think that if Salt Lake can win out their schedule, they should be able to make it to the conference playoffs and actually make it in. That's my dark horse. Honestly, I know everybody likes the Hotshots. I know everybody likes the Fleet. But I really do think that the Salt Lake Stallions, if they can stay healthy, and if Woodrum keeps playing the way he's playing, they're going to be my dark horse to make it into the playoffs. So continuing on with week 5 of the Lions of American Football, the Sunday games were actually pretty good too. This game, the Memphis Express and Atlanta Legends game, was actually pretty dope. I kind of liked it better than I liked this whole San Diego Fleet Salt Lake Stallions game. Kinda. The only reason why I liked it a little bit better is because of the 2 quarterbacks that were playing. You had the 2 backups who were the backups, who should have been the starters all along, and Zach Mettenberger for the Memphis Express and Aaron Murray for the Atlanta Legends. It still boggles my mind at the fact that both these guys did not start at the beginning of the season. The Atlanta Legends, from the jump when they were promoting the league, were saying, oh, Aaron Murray is here, you know, Georgia product, he's going to be the big thing coming out. Zach Mettenberger, you know, he was all over the Memphis Express social media. So it only made sense that these guys would be the starters, but I guess they didn't show up in practice, or the coaches saw something else in the other guys. So needless to say, both these guys are now starting week 5, and one of them kind of showed why he should start. The other one kind of cost his team the game. The Memphis Express ended up losing to the Atlanta Legends 2023. This is now the 2nd week that Atlanta's won a game after getting a new offensive coordinator, Ken Sampezi. This dude has completely overhauled the Atlanta offense. I mean, their defense was already pretty good. I mean, they had that whole where good defense but crappy offense. Well, it's kind of balancing itself out now. They're able to actually compete with these teams. The Memphis Express didn't play bad. I mean, they kind of got ran out the gym once Atlanta started scoring all their points in the 2nd quarter, but these teams aren't kind of decent now. I mean, the Express still have a little couple hiccups they got to fix on their offense, but Zach Stacy for them, he's a monster. The running backs for the Memphis Express are monsters. Zach Stacy with 13 carries, 41 yards. He had 2 TDs. And you also had Terrence McGee, who had 5 carries for 12 yards. But I mean, they were just workhorses out of the backfield, because Sherman Battier, he had 1 reception for 56 yards. Zach Stacy had 2 receptions for 45 yards. Terrence McGee had 2 receptions for 22 yards. I mean, it seemed like the running backs were getting more receptions than the actual receivers for the Express. Zach Manberger had 9 for 17, 181 yards and 1 interception. That 1 interception actually cost them a field goal that could have technically won them the game. It was a tip pass. I mean, it was a high pass and it got tipped by the receiver, but the safety was already lurking behind him. So even if the receiver didn't even tip it, it possibly still could have been intercepted. It just made the interception a little bit easier for the safety to come out. Aaron Murray, on the other hand, with 27 of 43, 306 yards, 1 TD, 1 2-point conversion. Dude was just slinging it all over the field. And he's showing why the Georgia fans and the Atlanta fans were just clamoring for him, like in the stadium, like, yo, start this man. Ever since he started with the new offensive coordinator, this offense has been rolling. Terran Folston had 11 carries for 83 yards. Brandon Radcliffe had 11 carries for 31 yards. Sontavious Jones had 8 receptions for 89 yards. Buck Howard had 3 receptions for 59 yards. I just don't understand why. It still boggles my mind why Atlanta Legends were running the stupid plays they were running, doing the dumb stuff they're doing in the red zone, just wouldn't start the quarterback that they needed to start. I guess somebody in the main office just told them, like, hey, stop all the dumb crap, just do this. And they did it. Now, I did notice one thing, that the Atlanta defense is really weak against screen passes. If they're running a screen, if anybody else sees this game and notices that the Express, every time they ran a screen, Zach Stacy was getting yardage on him. He was getting first down. So if I were like the Orlando Apollos about to come up against the Atlanta Legends, I want to say San Antonio. San Antonio has a decent running back, Kenneth Ferrel. I'll run screens on them all day and force those guys to come forward and just start dumping over the top. Same thing with Orlando. I mean, Birmingham, they got Trent Richardson. So, but I mean, same thing with Salt Lake. And when Memphis plays them again, I would still utilize that. This Atlanta team, man, it's a whole different ball game now. Now they got some coaching out there. Now they actually got some consistency at quarterback. I just say, like earlier, that the Iron, I don't think they're going to make it into the actual playoffs with the way they're playing now. I know it's week 5 and I could be calling this way too early, but if the Atlanta Legends continue playing at the rate that they're playing, they're going to end up bypassing the Iron. I don't think they'll bypass the Apollos, but they'll end up playing the Apollos for the Eastern Conference. And I wouldn't be mad at that, to be honest with you. Even though this might be recency bias, but I still thought that on paper, when I looked at the rosters at the beginning of the season, I thought Atlanta and Orlando were going to come out of the East. Atlanta just had a whole bunch of coaching problems. And then when the original head coach left, Mike Vick left, the offensive coordinator that replaced him left, it kind of like threw a monkey wrench in that. But I always thought that this team had the when they said Aaron Murray was coming, I was like, that's firepower right there. Run the man. For the Memphis Express, they got a couple more kinks to work out. I think they're gonna do better. I hate to say it, but the only person they'll probably lose in the offseason is probably Zach Stacy. He'll probably go back up to the league, so they'll have the exact same team next year. So they'll be able to run a more cohesive unit next year. So the last game of week 5 for the Lions of American football was the San Antonio Commanders playing Arizona Hotshots in Arizona. San Antonio Commanders came up on top at 29-25. If you were just looking at the final score, you'd have thought this game almost wasn't a blowout for like halftime, which it kind of was, because the Arizona Hotshots didn't score any points until the second half. But it also showed the weakness in the San Antonio Commanders defense, who I'm also a fan of, as you can see by right behind me. That's my team. It showed how they kind of, I don't know if they just got tired or they just slowed down, or they just thought that, hey, this was about to be an easy win. But they almost gave this game away to the Arizona Hotshots because they started marching right back. San Antonio Commanders ended up scoring, 14 points in the first quarter, 12 points in the second quarter, and then scored nothing in the third and just a field goal in the fourth. The Arizona Hotshots scored all the points in the second half, 8 points in the third quarter, and 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. So it's like, dude, I don't know what the defense did differently for the San Antonio Commanders in the second half. I mean, if they just thought, like I said, this game was about to be a wrap for them, but they took the gas, they just took the foot off the pedal. I mean, they did have a couple crucial stops in the red zone, in the end zone, but dude, Logan Woodside, he was looking like really good today. 21-27, 290 yards, 2 TDs. He had an interception. I can forgive him for that interception, but he looked really, really sharp today. John Wolfen, on the other hand, he had a 19-33, 246 yards, 2 TDs, 3 interceptions. That one interception he threw was a pick 6. That's what like really started this whole thing. I think the pick 6 was actually on the first drive. Then he came back and threw 2 picks back to back, and it got kind of ugly for the Arizona Hotshots in that first half. Ferrel, the reigning offensive player of the AAF from last week, you know, he had 12 carries, only 25 yards, he had 1 TD. He actually ended up getting hurt out there, I want to say on a swing pass to the outside left, where actually Logan Woodside threw a pretty good block for him, but he ended up getting hurt. Looked like it was his left arm, so he came out the game. Trey Williams came in, took the rest of the carries for him. He had 10 carries, 22 yards. His longest was 10. For the Arizona Hotshots, they're rushing Tim Cook at 12 carries, 33 yards, 1 TD. The main player that I was looking at in this game was Rashad Ross. He had 5 receptions, 106 yards, had a TD as well. It just seems like every time that the San Antonio Commanders, I mean, they come out real strong, but as soon as they start beating these guys, they start letting these dudes come right back on them. Once they start going over the top, because once Wolford started throwing over the top of them and hitting them with the deep passes, they were just getting cooked left and right. And another thing that was real bad because about that defense, about the secondary, they started, you know, a lot of pass interference calls, a lot of holding calls, which cost them a lot of good yardage, which was allowing these guys to march down the field. Now, when the Hotshots tried the first, like 4th and 12 onside conversion, the new thing, they don't do onside kicks, they do onside conversions where they start at 4th and 12 and they got to convert it. The dude managed to complete the pass. Like Wolford complete the pass. The dude was over the 12 yards. He was actually moving forward. Technically, his forward progress was stopped, but everybody came in and started pushing him forward. And then when he started going to the ground, that's when the Commanders came through and stripped the ball. Since the coach couldn't challenge that his forward progress was stopped, they can only challenge the fact that the ball came out before he hit the ground, which was true. So they ended up not taking the challenge from him or not taking the timeouts from him. But even with that, the Commanders still almost gave this thing away. Luckily, they managed to stuff him on the goal line during the 2-point conversion and just took away the rest of the momentum. So the Commanders got lucky. They got real lucky that the Hotshots had a bunch of stupid mental mistakes, like a bunch of stupid offsides calls and just dumb mistakes. So this could have been real bad for the Commanders. So now the Commanders got to go play Atlanta next week, whose offense is just clicking right now. So like I was saying earlier, with that new offensive coordinator, they're looking really good. And then the Hotshots, you know, they started out real strong at the beginning of the season. Now they've been on this slide right now, man. So it's looking real good for the Fleet, and you got the Commanders like getting their stuff together. And like I said earlier, I still think the Salt Lake Stallions can take this. I really do. A couple things that I picked up from watching all these games this weekend is these QBs gotta stop throwing across the body. That was one of the interceptions that Wolford had. He threw across the body. There's a couple batted down passes from quarterbacks from previous games that keep throwing across the body. I don't understand why they keep doing it. It just sounds really stupid. Second thing, these refs got to get these calls right. That when dude was converted on that 4th and 12, for his forward progress was stopped. They should have called it dead right then and there. I've seen him call other plays that should have kept going dead instantly, while like they were still actually legitimately turning his feet. Dude's feet weren't even moving. To me, his feet weren't moving. He was stopped. So they got to make that. And even the Sky judge was like, "Oh, we don't have enough evidence." Like, my guy, like, okay, yeah, he fumbled the ball, but his progress was stopped. Like, that should have been blown dead. It looked dead to everybody. But besides that, I mean, it was some great games this weekend. I mean, like I said before, these guys are finally getting used to being in the playbooks and actually working together. So I'm loving this league, and we got 5 more weeks left. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you like this video, hit like, share, subscribe. And question for you guys: do you think that the Atlanta Legends are actually legit now, or is it just a fluke? Just let me know in the comments.